items such as the radio station license and tower should be addressed through the Prop 39 negotiations process.
Mr. Langley, you are up.
Madam President, members of the board, superintendent, staff, and audience, I rise to support staff's recommendation. Almost every high school, or I could say every high school in this district, has had parents clubs and boosters donate to it. So Clayton Valley's donations really are just their share of the donations that have gone to other individual high schools. And I know that when Corolla Engineers, for instance, donated a number of computers to College Park, they were really donated to the district, but they actually ended up at College Park and stayed there until they were no longer serviceable. So I think this is a fair and equitable way of dealing with the charter school, and I also think that it is a relief to Ms. Cooksey, who has had to answer questions that only the board can answer when she goes before the large number of people at Clayton Valley, and she can't answer for the board. So if the board takes this action, then there's one less thing that she has to say. I have to take that to the board. Thank you.
Just to be clear, Mr. Langley, this is only information, so she will have to do that for another 3 weeks.
But she'll at least say it's before the board.
Okay, this is an information-only item, so is there... Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Langley, for speaking for me. That's less for me to say. It's an information item because we will cover this, I hope, in the Prop 39 request that I'll be bringing before you in March. And the Prop 39 request will deal with the facilities out there, and then I anticipate that I'll agree with outside counsel that we'll just have an addendum stating that donated items remain the property of the district and must be returned to the district in good working order upon conclusion of the charter or at some reasonable time with notice when the district wants those things back. But I don't anticipate that you all will be wanting them back, but because I'm your lawyer and have to draft it broadly, that's the way I'll be drafting it. So.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, questions.
I just want to have some clarification around that, because and as I understand it, the rationale for that is, you know, in the unlikely event that, let's say, the charter school were to become insolvent, and there was a move to liquidate property at the school that maybe the charter school was in possession of, our drafting language of an agreement, what we're trying to do is make sure that in that event, that property that's already at Clayton Valley High School, that's been generously donated by a number of different folks, that it remain the property of the school district, so that we can insist that it remain at Clayton Valley High School for future student bodies to be able to take advantage of.
Absolutely. It's about equity, and it's also about maintaining the integrity of the property that belongs to the district, but that we know that parents and donors want it to be used at that site, yes. But giving away public funds is something that you all cannot do, which is why we would draft something that would be in the interest of the students out there and their families and the boosters, but also would be very simple and easy to protect the board. And this is done often.
And really, you know, however you want to consider, I mean, the charter school, the students who will be attending the charter school will be attending likely our school, our public schools up till 8th grade. And then they'll be moving into the charter school for those kids that are going to go to the charter school. So it really is our students that continue to benefit from those items that will remain at the school, assuming that the school board agrees with staff that these items should be continued to be used at Clayton Valley Charter High School.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's down to the band instruments, the band uniforms.
And the weight equipment.
Right.
Those are the things that I am thinking of and things that people have asked me about.
Right.
And I think there might have been some lighting for drama too. I'm not sure about that.
So the goal would be what's there is there, or is there an inventory? And process that you?
There is an inventory that will have to be done by the facilities department anyway, but the goal is that what is there, because it's reasonably equivalent. When we talk about things that are not reasonably equivalent because we don't have them on other campuses, such as the radio tower, then that's a completely different issue that the board will have to take action on and figure out what to do. And just so you know, I did go out today and I did take pictures of the radio tower with the assistance of the teacher, who was very helpful, talked to the ROP person over at the county, and she has identified that many of those items in that radio transmission building actually belong to the ROP. So I'm going to have an inventory of what's theirs and what is the district. So this should be not a hard process to figure out what we own and what they own, and then for me to bring back a recommendation as to what you all might want to do with that.
Well, this is a much wiser consideration, because at first when it came forward, it was a very punitive effort, it sounded like. So I think that this is a much more reasoned, professional approach. So thank you.
I'm gonna disagree with Ms. Hanson that this has never been put forward, so I don't see how this is has ever been a punitive approach to Clayton Valley. This was never brought before the board in
I'm referring to the county board meeting that we were at when the issue came up around band uniforms and instruments, and it was this idea that those might be removed from the school or athletic uniforms. That was the part that was, created quite a stir in the community. So I think it's a great thing to come back with some sort of system and philosophy and make it a clean, professional process.
I am concerned that I will be getting a number of emails, just so everyone is aware of those, of other members of the public who feel that belongs to the district. Some of these things belong to the district, and they should have them in that case. I mean, not that this is going, but there are members of the public who will be very unhappy with us for this particular organization. I did have a question, is that who maintains, I'm concerned about liability and precedent here. So if we have pitching machine that we have there, it's ours. Who's responsible for the maintenance, and if something happens to someone and if they're injured by that, now who's responsible for the liability of the injury of that?
So the maintenance and also the liability would fall to the charter institution. The idea would be that they maintain the property that is the district's property that you're essentially loaning to them, and they maintain it in good repair, and they return it to you in good repair, and they will have adequate insurance to pay for any kind of liability that results as a result of the common use of that property. Whether it be the batting equipment, or somebody falls and hits their head on a weight or whatever.
And my second question is there any concern about the precedent that this may have, for instance, at other schools where PTS have donated computers and they say, you're closing the school, we as PTA are going here and we want to take the PTA. I mean, I'm concerned about what this does in other options as precedent setting and making sure that
it is precedent setting, and I don't know from the research that I've been able to do that you all have ever done this before. We've never had a conversion charter here before, but I don't know that you all have ever given away property before that wasn't surplus property that I could find in any of the records. So yes, if another school goes charter, or if some school closes down, you will be faced with the decision of what to do. And I would say to you at that point, be guided by the same equity that you're being guided by now. If parents of other schools really intended that their students and future students at that particular school would use that donated item, and then those students go X where, then maybe X is where that material needs to go. But that's something that you'll have to decide at a later date. But yes, everything that you do is precedent setting.
Any other questions from the board members? Alrighty. Moving on then to the next item.